Hello, and thank you for joining me again on the Finding Hope After Loss podcast. I hope you're having a great start to the new year. If you haven't already, make sure you catch up on all the past episodes. I have plenty more interviews I look forward to sharing with you soon. I always feel so honored when people share their stories with me and allow me to help them share it. I've said it many times before, but I'll continue to say it. It's so important to share our stories. It not only raises awareness for the things we go through as lost moms and lost dads, but it can also be such a healing process to talk about it and to share about it. Just to say our baby's name and to share our experience can be so validating. So today I am talking with Brittany and Alyssa. They are birth doulas who started Bloom and Grow Birth Doulas. They are both lost moms, and they share a little bit of their stories along with the ways in which having a doula can help other lost moms. And if you're unfamiliar with what a doula is, they provide support before, during, and postpartum for moms who are pregnant. And they can help lost moms and non-lost moms. They can help all kinds of moms. I really enjoyed speaking with them and learning more about what they do. Hello, everyone. Today I am here with Brittany and Alyssa, and they are both doulas. So could you tell us a little bit about yourselves and how you started or how you became doulas and what you do and that kind of thing?
Yeah, so it's Brittany here. I had a doula with my rainbow baby pregnancy. I knew that I was going to need a lot of support, and so I went ahead and hired one pretty early in the pregnancy, just for that emotional care and someone to help guide us through different choices and decisions. And so, after my pregnancy, and birth, I remember thinking like this was really important to me. It was very meaningful, and that's something that I really am thinking about wanting to offer other moms, especially moms dealing with pregnancy after loss. And so, just kind of looked up some trainings, and there was one coming into town, and I um, got through the training, and now I'm working with clients and working on supporting them through different aspects of their pregnancy, as well as through their childbirth. And so really excited to offer that and be able to bring that extra level of emotional support and comfort measures, and help just to be a listening ear in different situations so that they know that they're not going through it alone and that there is someone there that understands and can support them.
And what about you, Alyssa?
Yeah, I kind of got into it somewhat similar reasons. With my first pregnancy, we lost twins at 21 weeks, and I just knew, like, going into pregnancies later, that I really needed someone to be able to tell me like what my options were and to kind of slow things down. And I didn't get to have a doula with my daughter, who's almost 2 now. Because of COVID, they weren't letting doulas in, so didn't hire one.
That COVID ruins everything.
But that's kind of why I got into it, to kind of help educate moms who, especially in my case, I was young, who might be young or just don't know how to navigate the hospital or just that type of stuff.
So how did you two meet?
So we go to the same church.
Mm-hmm.
How long have you been going to South Creek?
Oof, maybe 14 years, long time.
Yeah, so they've been going for like 14 years, her family. And my husband and I have been going for about 7 years. And so we really connected through our losses.
Mm-hmm.
So when she had found out that I had experienced a loss, she had reached out to me and just to offer some support, and that kind of started our friendship. And then I found out she wanted to be a doula, and I'm like, that's what I want to know. So we were able to partner together and really offer some unique services. And so that's how we met, and it's been great to be able to support each other through it.
I love that you had each other for that and now, for this business venture too, and helping other lost moms. So have you actually worked with many lost moms yet?
I have one right now who she was pregnant with triplets and she lost two of the three and she's still pregnant with the one. So that's kind of been interesting because it is it's not super common for that to be the case, and even my circumstance wasn't a super common one, so it's interesting to talk to her and to be able to support her in that way.
Yeah, and I'm getting ready to meet and possibly support a mom that has gone through a very similar loss as myself as well. And so the clients that we have currently on my end are dealing with more of just the general anxieties that are coming with a first-time pregnancy, or the different hormonal aspects that are causing some of those needs for emotional support. But I'm excited to get ready to support a mom that's been through almost exactly what I went through as well.
Do you find it hard, having both of you having gone through loss, to hear the stories of and to be around people who have similar loss stories as you, or even different ones? Do you find that hard at all?
I'd say sometimes maybe. For the most part, I don't know. I'm not the type to get too emotional into certain things. I don't know.
Yeah, I would say if it was me a year or two ago, I would really not be in a place where I would be able to sufficiently support a mom who had gone through loss. But being on this side of it now, a little bit past the situation, I'm very passionate about stories being shared, which is, how I found you on your Instagram, and I'm getting ready to do the rainbow skirt photo shoot today, which is really exciting.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at right now personally. And so I think if it was earlier, no, I would not be in a place where I'd be able to feel like I could support a mom sufficiently.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the distance from the situation helps for sure, and sort of that clarity as time goes on. Definitely for me, same thing. A few years ago would have been I wouldn't have been able to do it.
A little more triggering.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. But I think having some support when I was dealing with my loss, and then knowing that just unique grief that comes with it, and then the unique emotional battle that pregnancy after loss can be, has been a big motivator for me to want to support other moms through that, and kind of have to get outside myself a little bit, even though it may be difficult sometimes to hear those stories over and over.
Yeah,
I know how alone that I felt, and I definitely want to make sure no mom feels that loneliness and those questions and not have anyone to go to for that. So that kind of motivates me to be able to push past some of those, I think, upfront triggering feelings that sometimes those stories might bring on.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, that's why, that's basically why I started everything I'm doing, because I don't want other lost moms to feel alone. And
absolutely,
it's hard. I mean, I still cry with like every story that, gets submitted to me. I still cry through all of them, but it's good to know that you're helping others.
Absolutely. That makes you want to keep pushing forward.
So what do you think is the benefit to a lost mom to hiring a doula? Like the biggest benefit?
The biggest benefit, I would say, would be simply a listening ear. And that sounds so simple, but there are so many wonderful doulas who can offer comfort measures and support and help you navigate questions, navigate the medical system, navigate your birth, help your partner. All of those things are just those general skills that great doulas offer. But having someone who can say, I went through that and I hear you, is, I think, one of one of the, if not the biggest benefit that we as lost moms and has pregnancy after lost moms have gone through can offer a mom going through that in their situation currently.
Yeah. I think it gives you a much deeper connection with those moms than, had you not experienced what they are experiencing.
Do you share with them that you've been through loss as well?
Kind of depends on the circumstance. I have and haven't. Kind of depends.
We have made that kind of clear on our Facebook page and any a couple advertising posts so that moms know that if that's something that they're going through, that they can bring it up and that we're ready to listen. But there's also a fine balance of not offering that information if they're not ready for it.
Yeah.
That might be something that anxiety, if they're a first time mom, they may be dealing with that, and that may not be something that we necessarily want to discuss up front. But so far the moms that we've dealt with have been upfront about any, prior pregnancies that ended in a loss. And that's something that we're pretty quick to make sure that they know that we are present with them in a very unique way.
Yeah, that makes sense. Bringing it up when they're ready to talk about it, or if they want to talk about it, but not just bringing it up to everybody you see.
Right. I don't know if that would have been very helpful for me, in my first pregnancy before I had the loss. That probably would have added some anxiety.
I can see that. Yeah. Especially since you say, you have a lot of first time moms. Yeah. That's definitely not something you want to add to that, I guess.
Absolutely. But, we've mentioned it a couple times and it's there if they need it. And so that's important.
So why do you think it's important to talk about your loss and to share your story? And I know you've touched on it a little bit about not wanting other moms to feel alone. Are there any other reasons why, you think it's important to share your story?
I'd say, like you said, that feeling of being alone. I mean, it is, common. But I think so many people, and I think maybe it was just an older generation thing, but it was something you kept a secret and you don't talk about it. And I think that's what really made it like a really lonely thing, especially, talking to some of the older generations that, they didn't talk about it. They kept it a secret. If it happened, nobody knew. And I think that you get a different, like I said, you get a different connection and a different and better support from the people who have been through it. Where people who haven't, they just don't understand, and that's okay. But it's just much better emotional support with the people who have.
That doesn't mean they can't provide that empathetic layer of care, but there's a uniqueness when you've walked through it. And for me, it's really that stigma of just the shame that still is existing in our society surrounding loss, as if we had anything to do with it.
Right.
But it is still there and it's still heavy. And, I was very supported by my family, but I am the first one in the family with anyone in my family that is still alive that has had a loss. And so they did not know how to even go about talking to me about it, or if they, like, the question was like, do we talk to her about it? And throughout my pregnancy, I had so many people that were like, is this just not the most magical part of your life right now? Like, are you just not in heaven? And I was like, no, I'm not. I'm really struggling. Like, this is not fun for me. And at first I didn't want to say that to anybody because I kind of felt like a Debbie Downer. And then I realized that that's that shame in our society continuing to blossom. And so I just very graciously said, like, pregnancy is kind of hard for me. It's not really an easy thing. And I want to provide moms the freedom to say that to somebody if they don't feel like they can say that to anybody in their lives. And to say, like, this is really hard. This is not this is not easy. And to be able to say that's okay. It doesn't have to be easy. It doesn't have to be super duper magical. I mean, we are firm believers that life is magical and life is a gift, but it doesn't mean that bringing a life into the world is sometimes the most magical thing, especially if you've dealt with a loss. And so just providing that person that they can say that to is really important to me.
I think that's a super important point. I think, and especially when we are pregnant after loss, we think we have to love every moment of it. We feel guilty when, we want to complain or don't like something about it. And it's okay to not love it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the fact that every day with my daughter in my womb, I got to spend with her, but I could not wait for her to be on this side to where I could hold her and love on her. And that was what I wanted more than anything. And so it's tough. It's a tough feeling.
So are there any specific aspects of loss that you think need more attention in general?
I think recognizing any type of loss is something that I think we can just continue to, I'm looking for the word, we can continue to really acknowledge. I think sometimes moms that have gone through early loss can tend to feel like it wasn't that big of a deal and not be able to face that grief in a productive way because it was so early, and they know lots of other people that might have dealt with loss later in pregnancies. I know that's one thing that was really encouraging to me is your acknowledgement on your Instagram page of just any loss, because there was a while where I was like, mine was an earlier loss, and I was like wondering, is it okay for me to feel this awful about it? And so just bringing more of that awareness to any loss is a loss. Any loss is worth any level of grief that you're dealing with is something that I think that we can continue to open up that conversation about.
Yeah, I agree. That's been one of my biggest things, because I've had so many people reach out to me, people even who went through like embryo loss with IVF, and they think, oh, well, that's not really a loss. Or people have told them it's not really a loss. And I'm like, no, that is a loss.
Yeah. I know it was said to me, well, at least it was early. And I was like, well, but that baby was really loved and really cared for. And it was my baby, and it was a loss. So
I really wish people would think before they say things sometimes.
Yeah. And I think that's where just helping people to understand how to talk to people who have experienced losses, because if you haven't experienced it, you don't know.
Yeah.
And that was something, even with family, it's like, what were they thinking saying that? But it's something you just got to understand. People don't always know. They don't know what they should and shouldn't say, and kind of just educating them and pointing them in the right direction is kind of just what you have to expect.
I think generally the motive is in the right place. They're not saying it out of, any type of angst, but I think that education piece is really important. If this comes up, this is what you say, not this.
Yeah, exactly.
But sometimes better not to say not to say anything if that's really all you got. So, but I know generally the motive is in the right place.
That's what I try to remind myself too. I'm like, I don't think they were trying to be hurtful, but it was hurtful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you have any advice for somebody who's going through a loss?
Get support. It may not be a doula. That may not be the support that you need. I think it's, personally, I think it's a no-brainer. Other countries, it's like, it's so odd if you don't have a doula, but it's almost odd in the United States if you have a doula. But you need to have somebody. And if that is not your husband or your best friend, then you need to find somebody. And so I think that's the biggest thing is you do not have to walk through pregnancy after loss alone. And there is help, there is support, there are listening ears, and that, and some grief counseling. That may be something that you may want during your pregnancy, because new things might arise, new feelings, new concerns, and new questions, and that might need to be worked through with somebody who has tools in their toolbox to help you in that situation too.
Mm-hmm.
So I know during COVID, they were limiting people in the hospital. So I know like sometimes doulas weren't always allowed. Are y'all allowed back now? Or are you still running into any issues with that? Or
No, they I think it was last year they finally started letting a second support person into the local hospitals here at least. So I was able to attend my sister's delivery.
oh, that's exciting and very special.
Yeah, it was only like 6 months after I had my daughter, so they changed it pretty quickly after I had her. I was like, oh, of course.
Yeah, like couldn't let me have it, but okay.
And we have like a local birth center here as well that has had restrictions lifted for quite a while. And my advice to people is to remember that we can switch off with a family member. Like if you want your mom present at any point, we will just switch off, and that's allowed in our hospitals as well. If they can't have 3 support people in the room, like we're willing to switch off. We just want you to have who you need there, your team there to support you, whatever that looks like.
And for people who really don't know much about like what a doula is, what kind of services do you guys provide besides, being in the hospital? Like, do you provide services along the way, or like what exactly do y'all provide?
So I think I kind of touched on this briefly earlier, but I think a huge portion of what we do is just the educational side. It's just helping moms and families to understand their choices and their and just what's going on to begin with, and especially the emotional aspect of labor and delivery or just pregnancy. A lot of women don't know what to expect, and I think that kind of preparing them ahead of time for the emotional side is important.
Yeah. We offer a lot of prenatal care. Generally we do 2 visits, and the first visit is really that education piece, discussing some of those birth preferences that they may not know that they have the option to choose, as well as making sure that they have a clear understanding of the different stages and phases of labor, as well as the different comfort measures that can be used during labor. Our second meeting with them will generally actually practice those. And that's something that not a lot of people think about, is you kind of make a list of what you want to do during labor, but you don't actually rehearse any of it. So then you're in labor and you kind of forget about everything, or you don't know, counter pressure on a hip squeeze. It's really important to practice that before, because everybody's hips are different. And so where does that provide the most relief for you? And practicing that before is how we get there. We also provide postpartum care. Pretty much what standard is, we'll do 2 postpartum visits, make sure if they chose breastfeeding that that's initiated and is going well, and if it's not and we feel like they need additional lactation consultant support, we provide those resources for them. We check in on the partner and make sure that the husband or dad of the baby is doing okay as well. We also provide a lot of that support for the dad during the childbirth, and make sure that we're not there to replace the birth partner. And that's something that we really want our moms to know, is we're not there to replace your husband or the baby's dad, or your mom or best friend or whoever is that primary support. We're there to support them, to support you. And so making sure that they know we're there for that as well. We also really ask some probing questions to make sure that if they're dealing with any postpartum anxiety or depression, that they get help for that too, and talk to their doctor. And so it's, we're not that medical help, but we're kind of that full scope of just hands-on care for that comfort and that physical relief, as well as a listening ear before, during, and after education, and also helping them learn that they have the ability to make informed choices and know how to navigate those conversations, so that they make sure they know exactly what's going on and they feel supported by their whole birth team.
That's like so much important information you provide. Because I feel like when you go, to your OB or I've never been to a midwife, so I'm not sure if they provide more information. But I know definitely in my OB visits, they don't tell you anything really about labor. Just
Um,
just here, you're gonna go have the baby. I mean,
might get a pamphlet or two.
Yeah. Yeah, not every parent, you kind of think it's so standard to take a childbirth education class, and honestly, that's just not a standard anymore, especially with COVID taking away the in-person aspect of that. And so we really want to make sure a mom knows the normalcy of a physiological birth and all the things that are going to go on and the different emotions that you're going to feel at different stages and phases, and that knowledge is going to take away some of that fear that goes into it. And the less fear that you can have, the more empowered and positive birth you can have. And that's really what our whole heart is behind our care.
I love that. It's great to, childbirth for me, especially the first time going in, not knowing what to expect, was scary. I didn't know about doulas then. I haven't had one at my births, and I wish I had one when I was having my stillbirth. I just didn't realize that they provided that kind of care.
Yes.
But I mean, I can just see so many benefits to that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I think people assume that when you're having a stillbirth or a preterm delivery that doula's out of the question, and I that's definitely not the case. I know I could have used one. I was only 21 weeks. And I would say there's probably more use to a doula at that point. There's a lot more emotional support needed in those circumstances, obviously.
Absolutely. And kind of jumping off of that, any birth deserves a doula, whether it's a cesarean, whether you're dealing with a stillbirth, whether it's a hospital birth, a home birth, a birth center birth, like a VBAC. Any of those deserve that extra layer of support. Moms don't have to go through any of that alone. And that's something that we try to educate moms in as well.
So what is your favorite part about being a doula?
I'd say just meeting the moms and hearing the stories and the different backgrounds is kind of fun, and getting to know these women in a very difficult time of their lives sometimes.
Yeah, I think everyone loves getting to see a baby born, and that's so exciting. But I think for me, it's been that education piece and empowering moms with knowledge that they didn't. Wasn't even in their radar that they needed to know, and then walking away feeling just more excited about a birth and more empowered to have a conversation with their doctor, even if so far their experience has been super positive. And I love receiving texts from parents who leave a meeting and they just are like, I feel so much more empowered from that, so much more informed. And that to me is really exciting. My background before being a doula is education. And so being able to provide that for moms, like it was exciting for me to educate kids. And I just really carried that over into parents and educating them on how to help themselves have a really positive experience. So I've loved that.
So is there anything else that either of you would like to add or share?
No, I don't think so. Those questions were really great. We're super covered a little bit of everything.
Well, if people wanted to find more information about your services, where would they go?
So we are on Facebook and we're on Instagram. So our Instagram is Bloom and Grow Birth Doulas. And that's the same as our Facebook. And so they can find our information there and shoot us a message on either of those platforms. And we'd be happy to chat with how we can support them.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate both of you taking the time to share a little bit about your stories and about your services and everything that you're doing. It was really great talking with you both.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us. And we're excited for you and wish you all the best.
Thank you so much to Brittany and Alyssa for sharing a little of their story and about their lives as doulas. I think the doulas can be such a great thing to have for all types of moms, but especially for lost moms. One of the things I love that they mention is that all births deserve a doula, no matter what kind of birth it is. Whether you're going through a vaginal birth, a C-section, first-time birth, or your 4th or 5th birth, it doesn't matter. The doula can always be there to support you and to support your support person. They can be helpful when you're having to go through the loss of your baby. They can also be helpful when you're going through pregnancy after loss and you just need that little extra support. The fact that they've both been through loss themselves makes what they do even more meaningful. Remember, even when we lose our babies, many of us still have to physically give birth. It can be such an intense and an emotional process, and we definitely need all of the support that we can get. The bottom line is that lost moms and dads need all the support we can get. If you haven't used a doula before, you can always look into getting one if you feel it would be of benefit to you. Do what you need to do to get the support you need throughout your entire journey. Also, make sure that you subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. If you would ever like to be a guest on the show, or if you have a topic you would like talked about, feel free to email me at Sarah, S-A-R-A-H, at journeyforjasmine.com, or you can send me a message on either Instagram or Facebook at Journey for Jasmine. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and remember, we are all in this together.